Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new. I hope you're all doing well and welcome back to another video. I cannot believe in a week's time we're going to be in October. So today I'm here to talk through the books I really want to get to and prioritise by the end of the year. This is my end of year TBR. I'm going to split this video into three categories. Books I just really want to prioritise off my physical TBR. Books I would love to reread and tab up and kind of make a permanent part of my forever collection. And three, books that are like seasonal and Christmassy, and books that are kind of like being sent to me by publishers that I really should kind of like prioritise because of timelines and stuff. So that's kind of like the plan today, but I also thought I'd share with you some of my bookish goals that I set a couple of months ago and see how I'm getting on with them and see whether I can kind of structure a TBR around those goals to kind of make sure that I complete them, if that makes sense. So I'm going to start off with the books I'd love to reread because those don't kind of count towards any of my bookish goals at all. So without further ado, the three books that I would love to reread by the end of the year won't be a surprise to some of you if you've been following my channel for quite a while. And the first one, I don't want to take off my bookshelves to start the intro because it's facing outwards. I need to reread Olive. This is a must reread for me every year. Last year was the first time I reread it and tabbed it up and wrote in it. Ever since then, I've started properly tabbing my books and writing in them. So I'd love to revisit this one once again because it is my favourite book, if you didn't know. And revisit it and properly tab up this time and start writing in it. So I'll probably end up rewriting the notes I did in pencil and make it like even prettier. So I'd love to spend some time rereading this and tabbing this up before the end of the year. It's kind of like a must. I make sure I do it every year now, so I can't kind of not do it this year. If you didn't know, this book basically follows our main character, Olive, who's in a friend group and has been ever since uni, and they're really, really close. When they leave uni and kind of start living their adult big girl lives, they all kind of like go down different paths, and they all of them bar Olive start kind of like trying for babies, buying houses, getting married, and Olive is kind of like feeling really stuck because she doesn't want to pursue any of those. And it's kind of that whole conversation of wanting to be child free, and I absolutely adore this book, so I definitely want to try and reread it by the end of the year. I wouldn't even say try, I will reread it by the end of the year, hopefully soon, because we haven't got much time left. I average about, just as a background, I average about 5 to 7 books a month. That's like only 15 to 20 more books for the rest of the year. Time is running out. So this is the first book I'd love to prioritise this year in terms of rereads. The next one I would love to reread was a book that I discovered this year and read for the first time via audiobook, and then brought a physical copy, and it's been sat on my shelves wanting to be reread ever since. The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I would love to reread this book for the first time because I read it as an audiobook at the very beginning of this year, just on a whim because everyone was talking about it. I was like, this isn't gonna be my thing. It was free on Scribd. I was like, I'm just gonna give it a go because everyone's raving about it, and I kind of got sucked into the hype. And then I listened to the audiobook and absolutely fell in love with it. Cried at the end. Beautiful. Love this book so much. Another 5 stars. One of the best books I've read so far this year. And I would just love to reread it. I don't tend to reread books within the same year of reading them, so that's how good this one is. This one basically follows our main character, Florence Day, who's a ghostwriter for a big romance author in this fictional world. And she gets a new editor and she's really struggling to write the next book, so she asks for an extension on the deadline. Unfortunately, there's a really grumpy editor who's just come on board and he doesn't give her the extension that she wants. Later that evening, she gets a really sad call home, so she ends up going back to her family's home, and the next day the editor turns up at her family's funeral home as a ghost, and the romance ensues from there. And it is a beautiful story. Just, I love it so much. I would love to reread it by the end of the year. And like Olive, tab it up and write in it and make it part of my forever collection. The last reread I want to get to by the end of the year, I actually started when I was kind of about to hit a slump, and then I read a book that pulled me out of the slump, and this one kind of got pulled to the wayside. But I have started rereading it, tabbing it up, writing in it, and making it part of my forever collection. Hi, I'm Rachel. I have books that I write and tab up that are part of my forever collection, books I know will never ever leave my possession because I love them that much, and they've really, really impacted me and kind of meant a lot to me. You've seen 2 of them already. This is another one that means a hell of a lot to me, and that is The Heartbreak House Share by Emily Merrill. Emily Merrill is actually a little writer M in the book community. She's mainly more active on Instagram these days and TikTok compared to when she started her channel. She started as a booktuber, but she's definitely kind of like left that to the side, and she's absolutely excelling in the short form content these days, which I love following her along. And she's now a publisher at Harper Fiction, and I'm just like, and she's publishing books, and I'm just so proud of her. And this is her second book released. I've read both of them, but this one definitely stood out to me more. This book basically follows our main character Flick, who has just broken up with her university boyfriend, and that was her plan after university, to move in with a boyfriend, and now she can't. They're broken up. So she ends up moving to London, getting a job in publishing, and kind of moving into a house share with 3 random girls that she's never met before. And she starts a kind of like 20s bucket list because she felt really restricted at university, having a boyfriend and not being able to do some of the things that she really wanted to do. So she creates this 20s list, like dyeing my hair, traveling, like all these random fun things that she has on this bucket list. And with the help of her 3 new best friends from this house share, she ends up doing some of the activities off the bucket list. Her job hears wind of that, and she ends up writing a column in the magazine for her bucket list. And then there's fake dating and just friendship and self-love and self-discovery and just kind of like figuring out who you're meant to be in your 20s whilst not knowing anything about your life. And if you're in your 20s and struggling to kind of figure out what to do in life and feeling pressure from society to feel like you should have your shit together, read this book. So I want to continue. I didn't get far into it. I got chapter 2, page 12. I didn't get far into tabbing up and rewriting in it, but this is the kind of like annotations I do. I like properly like annotate and write in them and just kind of like make the book my own. So this is another one that I want to reread by the end of the year. So those are the 3 rereads that I want to prioritize by the end of the year. Let's have a look at my goals now and create a TBR surrounding that to make sure that I hit my goals, because there's a few very like specific goals I have that I'd love to achieve by the end of the year. We are now at my desk, so I'm going to quickly show you my Notion just to get you an idea of what some of my bookish goals are for the end of the year. So let's go to my 2023 goals and scroll down to, it's taking a little bit to load for some reason, and scroll down to my reading category. There you go, it's fully loaded. That was random. Read 50 books. I've done it, I've now hit 54. I always set my Goodreads goal to 50 books, and that's what I'm happy with. I don't feel pressured, but I also feel like I can read a lot, and I never ever increase it if I hit it, just because then I don't want the added pressure of reading more by the end of the year. And I tend to always hit 50 books around like the August, September mark, and I don't want to like up it just for the sake of upping it. So I'm always just happy that I hit and read 50 books each year that I do it. So I can actually tick that off, which is exciting. I'm now on 54, reading my 55th and 56th book. So I'm definitely going to, I would love to secretly aim for like 80, but I'm not going to put any pressure on myself, and I'm going to keep my goal at 50 books, saying that I have completed it. Because some people are like, I can't believe you read so much, and then it really gets me thinking, like, I spend a lot of time reading. I read a lot of books in a year. Some people are happy to read like 5-6 books in a year, and I read like 50 plus. Like, that is an incredible achievement. So I should never kind of like push it too far, because I'd always want reading to be something that I do as fun. So I don't want to push it. I ramble over. I'm not pushing my Goodreads goal up, but I have done it. Yay. Read 50% of the books I brought in 2023. Brought/acquired. I am on track if I don't buy any more books. So let's go to my reading spreadsheet quickly and just see what my actual percentage is. So this is my reading page. I have a monthly TBR on the left, my monthly reading schedule on the right, and then my books hauled list that has like a whole tally of whether I've read them, the title, the author, the month, the price, the format, and whether it was gifted, and then the reason why it was gifted. So let's go right to the... Okay, I can't tick this one off just yet because I may buy more books. I may not read any more books with my physical TBR. Not likely, but there's a possibility. But currently, as filming this right now on the 22nd of September, I have read 50% of the books that I've acquired this year, whether gifted or brought myself. I'm so proud of myself. Okay, I'm definitely going to be reading more, so it'd be incredible to like up that percentage, but once again 50% is still good. I might still get books gifted to me or sent to me, or I might just buy books myself, because that's very likely. But I'm proud to say I've read 50% of the books I've read so far this year. That's incredible. So exciting. So I don't want to tick that one off just yet, but I'm happy to say that goal is like technically completed, but that may completely differ depending on the next couple of months. So we'll review that one again at the end of the year. So we're on track. Get my physical TBR down to 30 books and keep it at that. This one isn't looking as likely, so we actually have to head over to Goodreads to check on that one. Okay, there's a possibility. I am on 37 unread books currently on my physical TBR, and I'm pretty sure this is up to date. If there's Cat Lady on there, then it's up to date because that's the latest book that I've received. My mum got it for me as a gift for getting my job promotion. So yeah, I have 37 books on my physical TBR. It feels like more when I look at my TBR trolley. So that's good. I'm actually on track. I just need to read 7 more books. But once again, that depends if I don't buy any more books or if I hit a reading slump. It depends if I actually achieve that one, but it looks like I may achieve it. 7 more books across the next October, November, December. Looks likely. And I have my readathon in October, a little self-promo plug. I'm hosting a readathon in October all about celebrating the Walt Disney Company's 100th anniversary. I'll link the announcement video up above and down below if you're intrigued to join. You still have time to join. It's a week long from October 16th to October 22nd. So I'm definitely going to hopefully surpass that because all the books I'm reading for that readathon are off my physical TBR. Heading back over to Notion, the last bookish goal I have, which I made quite late in the year to be fair, but I've realised this year I haven't actually read many books by my favourite authors or the authors I actually class as favourites. I found new favourite authors and I found new authors I absolutely love to read from and want to read more from in the future. But authors that are already my favourites prior to this year, I haven't really prioritised reading. Those are Paige Toon, Lucy Diamond and Mike Gale. And I've given myself a goal of reading 2 more Paige Toon books, 2 more Lucy Diamond books and 2 more Mike Gale books by the end of the year. And seeing as I haven't really done any of them, I don't know if that's likely because that's 6 books. That's just 6 books within that goal. That's quite a hefty goal to be fair. Eek. I don't even own 2 more physical books off my TBR that are from Lucy Diamond, so I don't know how that one's going to happen. I'm going to have to buy a book, which means then I wouldn't have read 50% of the books that I've brought, and that might also mean that I won't complete getting my physical TBR under 30. So I would have to buy another Lucy Diamond book. Not that I'm complaining, but the only way I'm going to achieve that one is by buying another book. And Mike Gale, I'm going to count my DNF of Legendary Girlfriends that I DNF'd in July or August. Because I tried reading that, I got 100 pages roughly into it, it just wasn't my thing, so I'm going to count that towards Mike Gale. So technically I've read 1 out of 2 for Mike Gale, but I've read 0 out of 2 for Paige Toon and 0 out of 2 for Lucy Diamond, which isn't great. On that note, let's head back down to my physical TBR and discuss the books I want to read by the end of the year to help me achieve these goals. Okay, knowing that I'm nowhere near completing that last goal of reading 2 Paige Toon, 2 Mike Gale and 2 Lucy Diamond books, I'm going to run through some of the books from those authors that I'd love to get to by the end of the year. Some I own physically, some I don't, so we'll see what happens there. But let's go with Paige Toon first. One that I physically own that I recently purchased myself. So I'll tick off 1 book from my physical TBR and also tick off 1 of Paige Toon books. And that is Only Love Can Hurt Like This by Paige Toon. This is her latest release. She releases books like twice a year at this point. It's getting ridiculous to keep up with her backlist, but I'm trying. I have a whole list on my phone of Paige Toon books, the ratings I've given them and whether I've read them or not, and like this in her entire backlist. So I'll keep updating this once I've read them, what the ratings are, and just kind of like hopefully get through her entire backlist because that's another major goal of mine. I did actually start reading them in publication order. So although this is her latest release, I've heard incredible things about it, and I do feel her writing has got better and better over the years. So I would love to read her latest release just to keep on top of things. And I have it on my physical TBR, so it makes sense to reach for this one first. I don't actually know too much about this one, apart from the fact that me and Chloe from Chloe Reads Books don't usually kind of collide in ratings when it comes to contemporary romances. We usually have quite different tastes when it comes to that sort of book, but she loved this book. So that just means I'm going to love it because I love Paige Toon anyway. So I'm excited. I'm just going to read you the back because I don't really know too much about this. Neither of them expected to fall in love, but sometimes life has other plans. When Ren realises her fiancé is in love with someone else, she thinks her heart will never recover. On the other side of the world, Anders lost his wife 4 years ago and is still struggling to move on. Ren hopes that spending the summer with her dad and her stepfamily on a farm in Indiana will help her heal. There, amid the cornfields and fireflies, she and Anders cross paths and their worlds are turned upside down again. But Ren doesn't know that Anders is harbouring a secret, and if he acts on any feelings he has for Ren, it will have serious fallout for everyone. Walking away would hurt Ren more than she can imagine, but knowing the truth, how can she possibly stay? So it sounds interesting. I love Page-Toon's writing. I do want to try and conquer her backlist, and this is the perfect place to start with a book off my physical TBR. So I'm kind of ticking off 2 goals with 1 book with this one. Another one in the Lucy Diamond Page-Toon Mike Gale goal situation. One and only Lucy Diamond book I have on my physical TBR, and that is The Secrets of Happiness. This one basically follows 2 sisters. When one sister, Rachel, goes missing, Becca is left to kind of pick up the pieces and find out what happened to Rachel, where she's gone, why she's run away, etc. And that kind of reveals loads of secrets that Rachel was holding on to that kind of Becca didn't realise, and so it kind of like goes from there, I believe. I love Lucy Diamond's writing style. Once again, I love her stories. I love just anything to do with Lucy Diamond's book. I love the covers. They all match, which is one of the other reasons why I want to try and read them all. So this is the next book on my physical TBR. Plus, once again, like Only Love Can Hurt Like This, it will tick 2 boxes off my bookish goals by the end of the year. Reading from my physical TBR and trying to get it under 30, and reading a Mike Gale Page-Toon Lucy Diamond book. So hopefully I can get to this one by the end of the year. I don't know what other Lucy Diamond book I want to read by the end of the year. That's kind of like the tricky decision, which is why I don't think I'm going to achieve this goal. But if I just manage to read 1 from each author, that would be brilliant. So moving on to Mike Gale, I would love, love, love to try and read All the Lonely People by Mike Gale by the end of the year. Like I said in the previous clip, I will count The Legendary Girlfriend by Mike Gale towards this goal because I did give it a good chance. I got it off my physical TBR. I just personally wasn't for me, which shocked me and made me really sad, but I've got to move on. It's fine. But I have All the Lonely People as an ebook on my iBooks account, and this year, if you look at my stats, I have not been picking up ebooks whatsoever. Ebooks have just not been calling my name this year. So I'm a little bit wary about trying this one and whether it's worth buying a physical copy, because once again, Mike Gale is one of my favourite authors and I want to pick up all his books physically because I just prefer reading physical books. But I have it as an ebook, so whether I try and read it as an ebook, I'm not sure, but I have it in my possession. If I do want to try and read it and try and tick off this goal, I have it. This one basically follows our main character Hubert, who is an old man and he has his daughter, but she's moved away to Australia, and unfortunately he isn't doing very well. He has no other family left. So when they have weekly phone calls between Hubert and his daughter, Hubert makes up this tangle of lies and has a whole notebook of his lies, make his daughter think that he is doing well, that he goes to clubs, he has friends and he does activities and he gets out of the house. But as soon as that phone call is over every week, all he does is sit in his chair doing nothing until I think someone comes over to pick up a parcel, and it's like a younger woman and she kind of like gets him to see the world again, I believe. I know so much about this book because I did try and read it a couple of years ago as an ebook and I just wasn't really vibing with it, but I need to give it another go. I want to read all of Mike Gale's books, and once again I have another list of Mike Gale books that I need to read because I would like to get to his entire backlist. And it's bigger than Page-Toon's because he's been in the writing and publishing industry for 25 years now. So yes, that's another book I'd love to read by the end of the year. So that is 1 Lucy Diamond, 1 Page-Toon and 1 Mike Gale that I've mentioned. Just to quickly, I would love to continue reading Page-Toon books in publication order, which means the next one I'd need to read is Pictures of Lily. I don't know anything about it. I don't want to know anything about it. I will try and read it by the end of the year, so that is going on my end of year TBR. Like I said earlier, I don't know what other Lucy Diamond books to read, but I think her latest release is called The Best of Our Lives. So if I could read that one, that would be great. If not, I would go once again back in publication order, the last one that I haven't read yet, if that makes sense. So that's the first goal. The next category that I quickly want to go through, there's 1 book in it, so I'm just going to talk about it quickly, is a kind of like must read. It's got a timeline, it's got a deadline. It's a seasonal book that was gifted to me by Harper Fiction, the publisher, because like I said earlier, Em currently works at Harper Fiction, so she kindly reaches out to me and asks me if I want to review any books early, and I said yes to this one because I read A Merry Little Meet Cute 2 years ago now and really enjoyed it, and this is the sequel. So I need to read it at Christmas. It's gifted from publishers and I don't like leaving gifts from publishers on my TBR for too long, so I'd like to get to this one by the end of the year. This is the sequel, like I said, The Holly Jolly Ever After by Julie Murphy and Sierra Simone. It follows Winnie again. If you don't know Winnie, is an actress, an adult film actress, I believe, and the first one kind of followed her as she took on a role in like a cute, cozy, family-friendly children's film and then falls in love with the co-star. This one I think follows the same kind of storyline but evolves from there ever so slightly. It says opposites attract in a spicy holiday rom-com. These books get spicy, just as an FYI, if you're a younger reader or you're not into spice in your books. I don't think this series is necessarily for you, because it is and will get very spicy if the first one is anything to go by. So this is a book that I preferably want to get to before December, and definitely by the end of the year. And then a couple of other books I'd love to get to by the end of the year, just because they've been eyeing me up for ages now and I just need to read them to know what the hype is about. The first one is Abby Jimenez's Yours Truly. I heard everyone talk about this book when it got released, and I know it's technically a sequel to Part of Your World, but I have heard people read it by itself, and I'm not that interested in Part of Your World, so I'm not going to read that one. I'm just going straight into this one. And the reason I want to read this one so much is because it's got a kidney transplant in it. If you didn't know, I've had a kidney transplant. I just want to see what this author does with that storyline, and that's all I know about the book, and that's all I want to know about the book before going into it. But I've heard incredible things about it, and I feel like I'm just going to really enjoy this book because everyone else enjoys it. But I have had some sticky situations with hyped books in the past where everyone's loved them and I have not. So this could be a very 50-50 one for me. So hopefully I can read it by the end of the year and let you guys know what my thoughts are on it. Hopefully good thoughts. The other really hyped book I'd love to get to by the end of the year, and is going on my end of year TBR, is Yellowface by Rebecca F. Kuang, the author of The Poppy War and Babel. But I'm not a fantasy reader, but everyone says their writing is incredible. This is the book for me because it is more of a contemporary book, so it allows me to read one of my favourite genres, but also kind of see what the hype is about with this author, because I'm never ever going to pick up Poppy War or Babel. They're just not my type of book. I don't read those types of books. I never will, I don't think. They're just very much high fantasy, and that's just not really my vibe. However, they released obviously a contemporary book, so I had to get my hands on it just to kind of see what the hype is with this author. And this one sounds so interesting because it takes a look at the publishing industry when unfortunately an author dies, but their best friend takes their manuscript and publishes it under their name, and it has this kind of whole conversation about what's wrong with the publishing industry. And I think that's such an interesting topic, and I cannot wait to read it. It's not very big, I just need to get to it by the end of the year. So this is also on my end of year TBR. And then the last one I'm going to mention today, because if I add any more to this list, I'm not going to get this list completed at all, let alone my goals for the end of the year. And that is Frederick Bachman's book, My Grandma Sends Her Regards and Apologies. Once again, Frederick Bachman is one of my favourite authors. I love this author so much, and I can't believe I haven't read a book by him this year. I feel like I've read a book by him every year so far that I've kind of like been on BookTube and known about him, because I've read Anxious People, Everyone on the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer, A Man Called Uwe, Bear Town. So I've read like lots of his work, and this year I have not picked up a Frederick Bachman book. This book is on my TBR thanks to my friend Leandra, who gifted it to me last year, I believe, and it's just been set on my TBR, and I've been waiting to read it in the colder months because Frederick Bachman has a way with words. It just makes you feel like cozy, and like I feel like Frederick Bachman is such like a wintry autumn author. If you can kind of narrow an author into a season, I would say Frederick Bachman is very kind of like autumnal, wintry, because you can just curl up with his books and kind of really absorb yourself. I don't know much about this one once again. Hi, I'm Rachel. I don't like knowing what books are about before going into them, so welcome to this channel. But as far as I'm aware, this basically follows our grandmother and a granddaughter relationship, which is why I was so intrigued to read it, because I love Everyone on the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer, which is a grandson and grandfather relationship. So I just feel like he'll do a really good job at that kind of like bond and relationship between those two characters. There's Elsa, who is the granddaughter, and to Elsa, her grandmother is her superhero. When Granny leaves Elsa a mysterious series of letters apologising to those she has wronged, her stories come to life in ways Elsa could never have imagined, sending her on a breathtaking adventure of her own. And this is going to be heart-wrenching. I think I need a weekend clear of the calendar just to sit down and absorb myself into this book and just allow myself to cry, because I know this book is going to get tears out of me. With all of that being said, that is my end of year TBR. Let's count the books. So we have my rereads, Olive, The Dead Romantics, Heartbreak House Share, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, Pictures of Lily, 10, Another Lucy Diamond, 11 books by the end of the year, and I said that roughly I'll read about 15 to 20 by the end of the year. So basically, these are all the books, the only books that I'm going to be reading by the end of the year, which is a bit mental to say. Books are flying everywhere. Let's do a little mandatory stack, because you always have to do a mandatory stack. I didn't actually realise when making this video that there was 11 books on there, and I roughly read 15 to 20, which doesn't leave many other books to read by the end of the year. So this is my end of year TBR. A little bit daunted, but I have high hopes. Hopefully the rereads won't take me too long, so really it's just kind of like from here downwards that I need to prioritise, but we'll see. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see if I actually manage to complete this TBR, because I'll be very, very proud of myself if I manage it, to say the least. Let me know what your priority reads are to read by the end of the year. I would love to know. Have you read any of these books I've talked about today? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a massive thumbs up and subscribe down below to see future content from me. I do anything from weekly reading vlogs, monthly TBRs, monthly wrap-ups, and any other bookish content like this one that you can think of. I usually have it on this channel, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future content. And without further ado, I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.